I'm gonna start cooking because it takes 8 hours to braise this, and I'm going by a recipe that coincides not only with my dad's recipe but with a recipe that I found online. And I know if you've seen on my post on Facebook that I was gonna grow this out. In order for me to get it thicker, I need to trim it. So trimmed it down just above stubble, and yeah. So let me get ready the ingredients and show you what I'm gonna do. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to be using kind of accelerating the cooking process. And what I'm doing is actually cooking this piece of meat. This awkward looking piece of meat is very delicious. Let me pull this up just a little bit. It's very delicious, but it's also very tough if not cooked correctly. This is a beef tongue, or lengua in Spanish, and oddly enough in Tagalog. The way my dad did it was he trimmed this outer layer of skin because it's fairly thick. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to shortcut that by using an enzyme that'll break down the fat if I can find it later on. It's basically a tenderizer, and it can be used not interjectionally, but it can be used to tenderize the meat, all the meat. So I'm going to get that started now, and then from there start cooking, start searing it off, wash it off, sear it off, and then get it seasoned, then sear it off. I'm actually using both my Sony cameras today, so I don't know how the footage looks on the other side. So, got my cutting utensils, and even though I'm just cutting the plastic, I just want to make sure that my knives are sharp, so that way I don't cut myself. So, and I also have my trash can right over here to my side, so I'm just going to cut into this. And I already have my hands clean, so it's not going to be that bad. There's one beef tongue. And in fact, it's kind of slimy, so I might want to rinse it first, but I'm going to cut all these out first before I even start seasoning it or even tenderizing it. You want to let the tenderizer set for about 15 minutes before you cook it, because since this is technically I just took it out of the refrigerator about maybe 10 minutes ago, or not very long ago. I would suggest you let it absorb, the tenderizer absorb. I'll wipe this gunk down. And always wash your hands after touching meat, guys. So that way it's a little bit easier, and hopefully the camera that I have pointed there is capturing what I'm doing. Because lately I've been having trouble with my two cameras, by the way. But, oh boy. Good thing I'm not a hemophobe like Tsunade from Naruto. Otherwise this would go horribly wrong. Well, this is actually this is a fatty. It's actually bigger than I thought. So I might actually have to, there you go. It was actually fatter than I thought. But because this was in a cow's mouth and it's kind of slimy, I'm actually going to rinse it first, then dry it, and wash my utensils, simply because I don't know what was in that cow's mouth or how they packaged it. So I'm gonna just put this on hold, probably edit this part out, and yeah, gotta wash up. as I'm preparing my beef tongue, and as I'm preparing, hopefully I'm still in frame. Let's go all the way back, shall we? Okay. Hopefully I'm in frame because I'm not used to using this camera anymore. But as I'm preparing the beef tongue, what I want to do is you want to get rid of all of the. Let me start recording with that. So what you want to do is you want to get rid of all of the blood, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get a container so that way I can drain this blood and then bring the trash can from there to here, so that way it's a little bit easier. Yeah, or I'm gonna have like a container, but I don't know what I'm gonna do with this container, but I know I gotta take this out, damp it, and then apply this tenderizer. And I'm gonna not do the 30 minutes before, probably do about say 10 minutes, because I just wanted to break down the skin portion of this, so that way I don't have to trim it, because it's a fairly small piece of meat, considering the price for it, which is around $2 to $3 a pound. So I don't really want to waste it or waste any part of it, because I've had this with the skin and I actually prefer it. But the way that I've always had it and the way that my dad did prepare it was to trim the skin. But since my dad's not here and majority of the people in this house can chew their food, let me just adjust this. Since the majority of the people in this house can chew their food, I might as well, you know. So yeah, let's get cooking. So got my cutting utensils, and even though I'm just cutting the plastic, I just want to make sure that my knives are sharp, so that way I don't cut myself. So, and I also have my trash can right over here to my side, so I'm just gonna cut into this. And I already have my hands clean, so it's not gonna be that bad. There's one beef tongue. And in fact, it's kind of slimy, so I might want to rinse it first, but I'm going to cut all these out first before I even start seasoning it or even tenderizing it. You want to let the tenderizer set for about 15 minutes before you cook it, because since this is technically I just took it out of the refrigerator about maybe 10 minutes ago, or not very long ago. I would suggest you let it absorb, the tenderizer absorb. I'll wipe this gunk down. And always wash your hands after touching meat, guys. So that way it's a little bit easier. And hopefully the camera that I have pointed there is capturing what I'm doing. Because lately I've been having trouble with my two cameras, by the way. But oh boy. Good thing I'm not a homophobe like Tsunade from Naruto. Otherwise this would go horribly wrong. Well, this is actually this is a fatty. It's actually bigger than I thought. So I might actually have to, there you go. It's actually fatter than I thought. But because this was in a cow's mouth and it's kind of slimy, I'm actually going to rinse it first, then dry it, and wash my utensils, simply because I don't know what was in that cow's mouth or how they packaged it. So I'm gonna just put this on hold, probably edit this part out, and yeah, gotta wash up. So I just finished trimming the beef, and I just gotta say this. As I was trimming the beef, I had to remove a lot of the enzymes, and I'm gonna probably loop this over the actual B-roll footage of me trimming the beef from camera 1 and this camera here, my Sony A6. But yeah, what I realized was that when you go to these places where you can get bulk item goods, generally speaking, when it comes to like the organs of the animal, like the tongue or the heart or the kidneys, it's very poorly harvested. So this is actually going to be a critique video and actually a beef video with Sam's Club and Costco, because consistently every time I've gone to Costco or Sam's or even regular supermarkets that sell beef tongue, which right now is sitting in a cure, this tenderizer. I've used it before. It gives me really good results. Just breaking down some tough tissues. But speaking to butchering, when it comes to butchering animals, I am very holistic in the sense that you can tell when an animal's been butchered while alive, and that is the most inhumane thing you can do. One of the beef tongues that I've had still had the capillaries that go to the the under palate, which is that thing underneath your tongue, and that's that is your under palate. And I don't know what the technical definition is called, but all I know is that it has to do with your palate. And I can tell that the cow, that when they took out the tongue from the cow, that it was still alive because the capillaries were still full of blood. When you butcher an animal and basically you devein them and you basically take out all of the blood, there should be no trace evidence of blood in the animal. However, with this specific organ, there was still blood pumping through it basically. And not that I'm saying that it will yield a lesser quality eating experience, but for me, when I buy food, I want to make sure that, especially if I'm feeding my family meat, I want to make sure that it's responsibly sourced. So anybody who works at Sam's Club and any Sam's Club people watching this, I'm calling you out, and even this goes double for Costco as well. Is your meat responsibly sourced? Meaning, are the cows allowed to range freely? They're not cooped up in a barn. When they go to slaughter, is the slaughter humane? Meaning it's quick. And do you guys honor the ingredients? Meaning, do you guys honor that animal's life by taking tender care in butchering? Because I'm no master butcher. Like, I can butcher a chicken like nobody's problem, but when it comes to like a big animal, I still need to learn that. And all of my friends who've gone hunting, who took me out on these hunts, they've always scolded me in the sense that they wanted me to respect the animal as if it was still alive. Meaning, when you take apart a joint, you have to be very specific and very there's a method to doing it, and it in a way respects the part of the animal that you're taking it out of, essentially, if that makes any sense. But my dad wasn't like that. He just bought it because it was cheap and it tasted good. For me, having a lot of friends that are foodies like me that want to be sustainable, this is something that is very, very close to my heart, and this is something that is a part of my cultural identity, because not only am I a Christian, but I was raised as a Buddhist. And when you're raised as a Buddhist converting into Christianity, there are some parallels to that. For example, when they say all life is sacred, the parallels between the two forms of Christianity, evangelism, Jehovah's Witness, and Buddhism, the parallels or the middle ground between, I think I spilled something. I'm stepping in a puddle of some sort. The middle ground between those three religions specifically, because I have some experience with those religions in that area, is that all life is sacred. The way the Buddhists view it is that every piece of meat that you've consumed, or every life force that you consume, whether it be a plant or whether it be an animal, has to be respected and treated as if it was given to you as a gift. Now, how does that parallel Christianity? In Christianity, God put these animals on the earth not only for our sustenance, but for, oh hell no, I see a temperature gauge. How the fuck? Oh, now it's hot. Yesterday it was hot. But I'm gonna try to wrap this up and I'll transfer to the other camera. But in Christianity, it teaches you that God put these animals not only for our caretaking, but for also our sustenance. And because it's meant for our sustenance and it was given to us by a holy deity, we have to treat it with some type of respect and some type of reverence. And when I was cleaning up the tongues, there was no sense of reverence because the capillaries or the veins were still full of blood. There was no respect for the animal, I'm guessing. So Sam's Club, Costco, and any other supermarket that gets these types of exotic cuts, I have a main beef with you, and I have a main question. Do you guys responsibly source your meat? One, and two, do you guys actually have a hand in butchering the animal yourself? Meaning, don't aside from getting the side of beef or the side of pork, do you guys actually see where that animal is coming from? Where in the United States it's coming from? Is it responsibly being taken care of? Meaning, is the farm using sustainable feed, not just mass-produced feed? Is the farm you allowing the animals to roam around from time to time? That's all I have to say. But yeah, kind of disturbing, to be honest, seeing that kind of stuff. So yeah, gonna let that rest, watch some TV, probably get some breakfast. So I had to transfer from the A5 to the A6 that I'm using now, simply because there's something wrong with the camera in the sense that it's overheating. I don't know if it's because I keep it in my room that's temperature controlled, meaning I keep the room at a steady 60 something degrees. I got a fart, man. Oh, I don't care if you guys heard that. I really need to let that out. I'm normally gassy in the mornings. But yeah, so yeah, butchering these tongues kind of put it in perspective as to how the food gets reared, how animals get reared in the sense that, oh, you're using this for sustenance, and kind of grossed me out. Normally I don't get grossed out, but as I was like cleaning it up further, which normally I didn't intend to, I was just gonna just straight up tenderizer and then let it set until, let's say, like 5:30, because I started cooking at around 4:50. Yeah, I was gonna do that, and then I saw all of the blood in the capillaries or the veins of the tongue. And every time, my dad always gets lucky when he buys the tongue. Like, the tongue, oh, is prepared, meaning it's butchered cleanly. There's no blood in the veins, nothing. But the ones that I got had blood in their veins, so it made me think like, okay, what did I see on like forensic files, or what do I remember from reading in forensic books about blood in the veins? Well, when there's blood in the veins, that means that there's a healing process that has already been started. Even when you sever an arm, there is a form of decomposition, or there is a form of healing. And it stands to reason that the cow's tongue was taken out of its mouth while it was still alive, and that's pretty horrific. So I kind of did in the previous clip, before I transferred to this camera, I made it a point to call out Sam's Club and every single supermarket in the United States. Oh, my lens is dusty. Let me just wipe that out there. Yeah, sorry about that. To make it a point to call them out and say, hey, are you guys sourcing your food responsibly? And that's still sticking with me because, yeah, it's still sticking with me. I don't know why it should, but it bugs me, but it does. So while I'm waiting, I'm gonna give me some breakfast, and it's nice to vlog with this camera again because I'm not focusing on the mirror, the overview mirror that's like right on top of the camera lens. But it's kind of hard because I'm so used to now on something focused, like focusing on something and make sure that I'm in frame, and not having to question, like looking in my reflection to see if I'm in a good frame. But yeah, so I'm gonna start cooking at around, say, 5:50. It's already been about 15 minutes from the time that I put the tenderizer on there. I just have to rinse the container, and then yeah, keep going, get going, continue cooking. What I chose to use was dried herbs. It's not like what my dad used to use, which was like an herb bouquet or something like that, where you wrap up fresh herbs. But this was some of the herbs that he would use when we could afford it, which was the oregano. Then behind there we have cilantro, and then we have thyme, and then the prerequisite sea salt, chives, and then you might see beef, that little beef bouillon cube set. That's probably going to be used for later. And then after that, I used garlic powder and onion powder. And then after that, I blitzed basically the onion powder, the garlic powder, black pepper, the salt, the chives, and all of the herbs. And I basically made a dry rub powder, enough to lightly season the tongue, because I don't want to use too much salt, because I'm gonna actually douse it in shoyu, and then as I'm gonna braise it, ooh, that's gonna be an ugly B-roll. As I'm braising it, I'm actually going to be using that little bottle in the back, Merlot. And basically, you don't want to use any fancy type of red wine, but you can use any type of alcohol. My dad normally uses red wine or sweet vermouth. But yeah, that's generally it. So that's the list of ingredients, basically. So it's around 7, maybe 8 o'clock. I just started the hot pot or crock pot cooking. I had to cut one of the larger pieces in half. So what you would want to do is probably skim it after, I would say, another 5 minutes. Skim the liquid, because since the tongue essentially is rare or raw in the middle, and since there was active blood vessels, basically in the sense, you want to skim that, so that way you don't so that way it has a longer shelf life. But if it's whole, like the ones that are in here, perfectly fine. Just let it go, and it'll cook by itself. Very minimal skimming, because you basically cauterized all of the blood vessels, so it won't leach out. And pretty much the only thing that you would have to do is wait. So estimated cook time, once you sear it for about, I would say, a good maybe 15 minutes, or not even 15 minutes, but I would say a good 5 minutes per side, 5 to 6 minutes per side. You're talking at least since if you're starting at 4, start after the sear, and you just start the boiling process, meaning you deglaze the pans that you cook in. You're talking at least, if you're doing it from the pan, at least 4 hours. But if you're doing a crock pot, double that time, if not triple it. So if, say for example, 4 hours, double that is 8, triple that would be 12. So let's ask Siri how many, what time it would be. Hey Siri, what time would it be 12 hours from now?
It's 7:59 p.m.
So basically, if you're willing to have a late dinner, that's basically what it is.